Welcome back. Question. Could the Defense Department be next on the list of the Trump administration's efforts to wage what it calls a war on waste? That's a quote. The Washington Post, in this context, is reporting that the administration has directed defense agencies to submit a list of probationary employees and do so quickly. Some of those on that probationary list, once submitted, could be terminated as soon as this week. Barbara Starr joins me now. She is a longtime Pentagon correspondent and is currently a senior fellow for the University of Southern California's Annenberg Center on Communication, Leadership, and Policy. Barbara, my notes tell me that there are about 950,000 civilian employees with the Department of Defense. A budget last year about $840 billion. There probably is some room for efficiency there. But these probationary notices and the idea that significant firings could occur as soon as this week, how does that land with you? What are the implications of that?
Well, I don't think, as you say, it's a huge surprise to anybody. I can tell you there's plenty of four-star generals and admirals in the force who also think there's room for budget cuts. It's a lot of money. And nobody, I think, is opposing what they believe, and everyone has an opinion. Of course, they're sensible budget cuts. But there's something else going on here in Washington, and that's Congress. Because the way the Pentagon budget is designed, these weapons programs are manufactured in any number of states across the country. And why is that? So you have senators and congressmen who have jobs in their districts that they want to protect, and they typically do not take kindly to massive budget cuts. They want to protect those manufacturing defense jobs in their districts. So there's going to be a long way to go to get this all done. As for the probationary employees, you know, this is something that is really having such an impact across the federal workforce. So many people suddenly losing jobs that they thought they had and having to find a way to earn a living.
And Barbara, in the context here, I think there are two P's: personnel at the Defense Department and procurement. You know better than I do that procurement is where the real money is, and there are ways to find weapon systems that can be manufactured more efficiently, less costly. It's been a constant story at the Pentagon. That's where the real money is, isn't it?
Well, it is. And if you're going to save that real money, you have to make substantial cuts in, like, individual weapons programs, such as doing away with a new aircraft, a new fighter jet, a new tank. You can't just nibble around the edges. You have to make significant cuts in significant places. And I don't think there's anybody who thinks there may not be room for that. But again, those defense manufacturing jobs, that's bread and butter for both Democrats and Republicans on Capitol Hill. They're going to want to preserve those jobs. So Pete Hegseth, the new Secretary of Defense, is going to have to really go a long way towards convincing Congress that the strategy the Pentagon has can do without these new weapon systems. This is going to go far beyond the message points and the sort of PR discussion we've been hearing from Hegseth so far. Now the rubber meets the road. He's going to have to explain what the defense strategy is behind these potential cuts.
And there have been some shock effects that the Department of Government Efficiency has had to recall, rehiring people on nuclear weapons watch, rehiring some people dealing with bird flu at the Department of Agriculture. If there are these 30% cuts in personnel at the Defense Department, and they're done with the sort of breathtaking speed that they've occurred at other agencies, might that have some effect on issues related to national security?
Well, I think inevitably it will. Again, as you point out, the nuclear infrastructure in the country, will that be protected? Will the rapid response forces across the world that would deal with a crisis in Korea, a crisis in the Middle East, a crisis beyond what we have with Ukraine in Europe, will those be protected? Will families be protected? Remember, when Pete Hegseth just several days ago went to Germany to visit the troops, very unusual. He walked onto a base in Germany and he was greeted with protesters from the families, the U.S. military families who live there. So everyone is watching this very carefully.
Barbara Starr, thank you very much for your time and always your expertise.